Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 35 of the Knuckle Sammich podcast, the official MMA podcast of Sauce on the Side. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Thomas R. Shackelford.
Buckle up.
Mr. Shackelford, we have some big news to actually break to all the listeners of this podcast, because the majority of this podcast will be the people who will most appreciate the name that we have for Monday's show. Mr. Shackelford, you did the interview, you spilled the beans.
The man, the lion killer, Gary Tonin. I contacted him back in September. He got back to me yesterday. We set up an interview today, and for me, it was. He's kind of an idol of mine. I tried not to fanboy too much. I hope the interview turned out well. You guys be ready. Be ready for the man behind the magic come Monday, because it's like 35 minutes of just flowing through a ton of topics. He did great. I tried not to mess it up with my goofy voice. Hopefully everybody digs it.
Yeah, no, this is our gift to you guys. This is our gift to you. If you listen to us ramble for 30 minutes every single week, we will present you with some good guests from here and there. Gary Tonin, huge thank you to Mr. Tonin. Came on, absolutely killed it, guys. Guys, as far as martial arts goes, I don't pay it. I'm not as big into the BJJ scene as Mr. Shackelford is. That's pretty apparent. Every time we're on here, he's talking about hyping up the BJJ matches that are coming up on the upcoming week. Talking about BJJ matches that happened the previous week. Guys, this guy absolutely kills it. If you're a fan of martial arts at all, Gary Tonin, you can listen to him for hours. We got blessed. We got him for 35 minutes. You guys will absolutely enjoy it. Like I said, on the Monday show, so you have to listen to me, Latency, and probably B. Reich or Diesel, depending on who's going to be available that day. You have to listen to us, but you also get to listen to Gary Tonin. So, guys, it is absolutely worth it. Mr. Shackelford, today we will talk UFC 231. We will talk about what we had saw on that card, and we will also get to and give our picks for UFC on Fox 31. Mr. Producer, Latency, you know what to do, so drop the noise. Welcome to the Knuckle Sammich podcast with Thomas R. Shackelford, a Sauce on the Side production. All right, Mr. Shackelford, last week we broke down the full UFC 231 card, and I'll say it, you killed it. You absolutely killed it. Only missed one fight on the card. The only fight you missed, though, was the fight that I figured I would have to come onto this podcast and apologize for. I picked Max Holloway. I was all in on Max Holloway because Max Holloway is Max Holloway, and Brian Ortega is, in my opinion, just another guy who got hot. Fight happened. Max Holloway uses Brian Ortega as a human punching bag for 4 rounds. Ref has to come in, or doctors had to come in, stop the fight. What were your takeaways from this fight? And don't focus on this part of the question until at the very end. Is Max Holloway the most dominant guy we've ever seen at this weight class? Go.
I forgot the first part of the question, so I'll start with the last part of the question. The most dominant featherweight. It's really tough to say. I think him and Aldo would still be tied. I'm not sure how many defenses he's had. If you're going to give him a leg up, it would be because he's beat Aldo not once but twice. And then there's always the argument for the best featherweight being Conor still, since he beat both those guys. So as far as that goes, that's really a toss-up between those 3 guys. I can tell you right now, as far as totality as the UFC goes, it doesn't get much more dominant than Max Holloway right now. Because of the Aldo McGregor thing within their weight class, you got a little bit of a thing there. But when you open it up to all the weight classes, he's way up there. I think that was his 12th win in a row.
13th
win in a row.
Yes, he ties John Jones.
The health issues, which that wasn't really a factor in too much in why I picked Ortega. I had picked Ortega before the first one too. The health issues, apparently he solved them. Apparently he solved them. His weight was good. He actually weighed 144.5, so he was a half pound under what he needed to be. They just need to be 145 right on the button.
That was a statement weigh in.
I think it was.
I really do.
I think it was. And he looked good all week. They finally started putting out videos, and he definitely looked better than he did before the last one. As far as just the fight itself goes, I want to say Holloway looked 10 times better than Ortega, but I felt like maybe Ortega didn't. Maybe they had a different game plan, or once they got there and realized how good Holloway was, he was a little stumped. Because in his previous fights, and this is actually why I picked him, he was really good at using that shell, and he had really good 360 movement from his waist, like boxing style. He didn't do that. He didn't do it at all. And actually, the only round he did that was round 3, which was the round he probably won.
That was the round that scared me.
Yeah,
I figured
he started to come
during
back
that round. I thought, man, I'm gonna have to come on here and apologize to Shaq.
Well, round 1 and 2, I mean, the way I saw it was, he was in the fight the whole time. And, there's some people saying, like, hey, they should have stopped it a little earlier. Every time Max, started putting together 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 punches, Ortega would hit him solid and back Max off. And that was the story of the fight. I mean, Ortega hit him with some really good shots, had a couple good takedowns, had a couple bites on a couple chokes. But overall, it was like 5-1. Everything Ortega did, Max hit him 5 extra times. And man, I don't know if you watched his movement, but it almost reminded me of Mike Tyson. I know that sounds stupid because it's not one punch knockout, but Tyson was known for having that square stance, not staggered, not left leg forward, not right leg forward. He would be square stance. So when he would, bob and weave a punch, he could hook with the right or the left and have the same, punching power. Holloway was doing that basically, except he would maybe be southpaw in one stance or orthodox in another, hit a jab, and then as he would step through with his right hand, he was in like a square stance, and he would just kind of bob, weave, and hit 3 more damn punches out of that, and then he was out before. The dude's stand-up is, I heard the comparison, he's the Diaz brothers. He's almost like the next Diaz brother who likes to defend takedowns instead of just go down to his back and try and work submission.
He's like Chuck Liddell met a Diaz brother.
Exactly. That's a good one. If Chuck Liddell and the Diaz brothers had a baby, it'd be a little Hawaiian guy named Max Holloway.
No, I agree 100%. And dude, this fight by Max Holloway, it kind of reminds me of that saying, like a workman's effort. Like a workman's effort. Basically put his hard hat on, grabbed his lunch pail, went to work,
exactly.
and he basically pieced him up. You look at the final stats, like he threw 450 punches.
I don't know the record, but when they said that, I thought, oh my God, that's got to be somewhere close.
I would say that out of a guy who's thrown 450 punches, very, very few of them have landed 50%. And I would say that Max Holloway, out of guys who's thrown that many punches, had to have landed the most.
Yeah, and he never got tired. He's still... the conditioning on him it's so insane because he defended takedowns. I mean, he stopped a few, he got up from a few. It wasn't like it was
those were significant strikes too, weren't they?
I mean, shit, yeah, every one of them bounced off Ortega's face. I mean, 1 and 2 he ran away with. 3 I would have gave Ortega because he stunned Holloway a few times, backed him up, and then 4 just. You think, oh, damn, the fight's swinging, and then Holloway comes out there. I think he even yelled at the broadcasting booth, I'm stopping it this round. And he was right. It stopped with after the round, but, an amazing fight. I'm glad to see him back. I would like to see him maybe go to 55, because when you think of that 45-pound landscape, really what's left for him. You got Moicano there, but Ortega's beating him. You got Edgar there, but Ortega's beating him. Really, those two guys are it. But when you think about 55, think about some of the matchups he could have at 55. A rematch with Conor. You could throw him in there with Khabib. You could, put him in with Poirier. I would, honestly, I would like him. I would almost pick him in almost any fight against any of those guys. Of course, McGregor might be a different story. Just because McGregor seemed to have his number last time. He was just beat him to the punch every single time. But they were both really young then, so you just never know. I would like to see him go to 55, but clearly he could still make 45. Now, they said before that Khabib fight that he was like 185 when he tried to cut for that Khabib fight. And that might have been his problem, because you remember within like a week, he tried cutting from 85 down to 55 to fight Khabib. Commission stopped it, and then a month later, he jumps in and tries to do that not extreme weight cut, but he tries to do his weight cut again for 45, and he was all messed up. So him trying to take that Khabib fight last minute maybe really is what did it to him. 2 hard weight cuts in a 2-month period may have just been too much for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. Latency, you're the man at finding stats. We do it on the Monday show. I want you to try to find what are the most significant strikes landed in in a UFC fight. Because I think this is going to be pretty eye-opening whenever we finally see it.
I'm going to throw a guess. I think my guess was Nate Diaz versus Cowboy. And I want to say he landed like 235 or something.
Okay.
So if that's the record, then Holloway beat it.
Yeah, and he didn't even use the 5th round. But, in order for him to land so many strikes, it takes an extreme... And honestly, like, I know Ortega lost, but in my eyes, I think I respect Ortega so much more now than what I did before this fight, because I thought that Holloway was going to go out there and kind of just kind of mop him. And it takes a real tough son of a bitch to take that many strikes. Like, you think about it, like, you just said that it took Nate Diaz against Cowboy Cerrone to land 235 strikes. So it takes a real tough guy on the other end of the octagon to allow that to happen. Brian Ortega, I know he lost the fight, but that guy is unbelievably tough.
And to his credit, he didn't want to stop, and his corner didn't want to stop. The doctors made him stop. Good call, though. Like,
absolutely,
it's not something, he's known for that comeback guy, but there wasn't going to be a comeback.
He's a comeback guy whenever he can see out of both eyes.
Yeah.
And the left eye just was not working.
His face was trashed, yeah.
I thought it was a great fight, though. Absolutely great fight. Also in the card, we had Valentina Shevchenko pulled off a decision versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I know I butcher her last name every single time I say it. What did you think about this fight? Did you really learn anything about these two fighters? I think my biggest takeaway was that, Joanna, I thought that it was kind of just Rose had her number, but now I think that there are just more really, really polished female fighters in the UFC. That was my takeaway from it. What did you see?
I think there's 2 girls on the planet that have her number. One being Rose and one being Valentina. I mean, that's the 4th time Valentina's beat her. And I talked about those Muay Thai fights. We kind of knew it was just going to be a Muay Thai fight, right?
Absolutely.
I think Valentina got some takedowns here and there, but, she didn't get, again, like, the first Rose fight I'm going to say was more towards the weight cut is why she got dropped so easy. The second fight was a lot closer. She actually led in the striking category, but a lot of them were leg kicks, so those aren't quite tallied still to this day as much. So that was a razor close fight, and now she's had 3. This one, obviously Valentina won, but it wasn't like she mopped the floor with her or anything. I actually feel bad for her because she was the most dominant women's champ in the UFC for a while. Even after Ronda lost, she was still winning, just smashing people. And they're good fighters, but there's 2 girls that are just a hair better than her, and unfortunately, that's the 15 and 25 pound champ.
Yeah.
She did look better, and did you notice she could take a punch a lot better?
Oh, yeah.
Valentina's for sure a harder puncher than Rose.
Absolutely.
And, Joanna looked good. I mean, she looked good. She looked physically good. When she did get on bottom, she was able to get back up. Just, unfortunately, there's just two girls on this planet that have her number, and both of them happen to be fighting in their prime at the exact same time as her.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. By the way, latency, whenever you go ahead and tell us these stats, you're going to turn your mic up. I had to turn your mic down so we could listen to that interview earlier. But two fights kind of stick out amongst the rest of the card. Gunnar Nelson, second round submission against Alex Oliveira, and Thiago Santos had maybe the most exciting 6-minute fight that we have had this year. He actually TKO victory over Jimmy Manuwa. What did you learn out of those two fights, if anything? I know you'd pick those guys, but what did you see?
Gunnar, he tried to take Oliveira down in the first, and Oliveira just clearly held onto the fence like there was a tornado sucking him up. And
it was like the movie Twister.
Yeah, it looked a little bit like Twister. I don't exactly remember how Gunnar ended up on bottom, but Oliveira damn near knocked him out. He was landing some huge ground and pound. But then in the second, Gunnar came out with authority, took him down. Once he was in mount, man, I don't know if did you see the elbow he landed on his head? Oliveira had some wrist control on him. Gunnar Nelson hit a freaking elbow right to the middle of his head. That dude was spraying like he was a water fountain. They showed a picture of it. I'll have to pull up the picture. Maybe we can tweet it out. He looks like he's... I think it said 27 stitches. It's right in between his eyes, and it's like an X. It ain't even a clean cut. Brutal. Just brutal. And then freaking... So that fight had a scary moment in it. And then you got freaking Thiago Santos and Manuwa. I don't know if you remember what I said. I said Santos should win this pretty easily as long as he doesn't just go out there and get into a slugfest with Manuwa.
What does he do right off the bat?
It just was insane. He runs out, knocks him. How many knockdowns did you say there were?
I thought there was 4 knockdowns in 6 minutes, and both of them had scored 1.
Oh yeah, that we're lucky we won that one.
That was the latency fight of the night.
Yes, that was just two dudes. Did you see the flying capoeira kick Santos did just out of the blue?
Yeah,
he's just
dude,
he's half dead, and he's just like kind of does a little capoeira flying kick in there. The announcers were like, that wasn't intelligent at all. And I'm like, what is he doing?
No. Dude, you know what it reminded me of? Was like, whenever two guys, like as soon as the hockey match starts, like before the puck is even dropped, they just toss the gloves and start beating the Chevy. That was this.
Yeah, they don't like each other from like 5 seasons ago, and that's the first time they've had to play each other since.
Yes, they drop the gloves, run out in the middle of the ice, just start bombing each other, and that's exactly what it was. I'm pretty sure there were 4 knockdowns in it was less than 6 minutes. So you tally the numbers, you had about a knockdown every minute and a half. So
and it was an opposite guy. It was an opposite. Well, we're lucky we won that one. We did good picking on this card. One big big upset on this was Nina Ansaroff beat Claudia Gadelha. That was the betting wise, I think Gadelha was the favorite, but as far as everybody seen, Ansaroff, which she's the fiance of the Lioness.
Amanda
Nunes. It's her fiance. I think she's won like 3 in a row. She's looked really good.
No, she did.
Other than that, Gilbert Burns had a big win. I
thought Gilbert Burns was one of the biggest winners of the night.
Yeah.
Because he kind of put it on him.
OAM, we're looking at a dude that was like 12-0. He lost his last one, real close fight with that Hernandez. Not Aaron Hernandez.
No, it wouldn't have been him.
Shit, we're going to have to look up his name before we... It might be Aaron Hernandez, I'm pretty sure.
No, I doubt that. They weren't fighting in Boston, were they?
No. So he's lost 2 in a row now, and he's a young prospect that they're kind of feeding to the wolves there,
Gilbert Burns. I actually learned something about Gilbert Burns. He lost to Gary Tonin in a BJJ match.
Yes, he did. He's still tough though.
So Every time we have a big fight, especially a big card like this, loaded down, I always ask you who are the biggest winners and biggest losers of the card. Who do you think was the biggest winner of the night?
Burns is way up there. To me, the biggest winner, it's got to be Holloway. Because there's a lot of people just completely writing him off. Like, hey, he shouldn't be fighting at all. They've, stroke-like symptoms. There's no reason for him to be out here. And then he comes out and puts on a performance like that and just kind of lets people know, hey, I'm still here,
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that as far as just like a legacy standpoint, a stamp on a legacy, I think Max Holloway is the biggest winner. But as far as people moving their stock, I think everybody, and this is a rarity because a lot of times, like, it's, we expected you to win, like, and you did it. I really think that we can make the argument that every person that won this weekend raised their stock substantially. I mean, Ansaroff raised her stock immensely. Gilbert Burns, I think the needle on him flies through the roof. Yeah. And then you have Gunnar Nelson finally getting things going in the right direction. Like, his stock goes up. Thiago Santos, even if he did have the scares, like, he's an exciting as hell fighter who picked up a very, very respectable win. And then Valentina and Max Holloway just kind of put stamps on their legacy. So I would make the argument that everybody who won really moved the needle in a positive direction.
Yeah, this is one of those times where everybody, and not necessarily that they needed a win, but everybody that won, I 100% agree with you. They moved up for sure.
Yeah, and biggest loser of the night. Who do you have as that?
Unfortunately, it's got to be Joanna, right?
Yes, I would agree 100%.
I mean, she bumped up to a new weight class. She's had 2 losses to the champ at the weight class below, and really, I felt, and a lot of people felt, that she grew out of that weight anyways, and so now she's at 135 or 25, and she had her 4th loss to the girl, so I really don't know how she gets a title shot back there. And you got Tatiana Suarez, Jessica Ai. There's some tough girls in that weight. There's not a lot of cakewalk fights for her to jump right back into it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I would agree. And if you look right at Brian Ortega, he was the betting favorite to win the fight. But after the fight, what's everybody been saying?
He's just tough as hell.
Yes, everybody's been saying how tough he is and how good we realize Max Holloway is. And what's awesome is that I bet Max Holloway almost every single one of his fights. 2 of his last 3, he has been the betting underdog. So
that's nuts.
That's awesome.
Nuts. I saw a thing today that said it was like top 5 bet traps of the year, and the Holloway Ortega was number 1. I forget what the other ones were. Connor Khabib was on there, which we messed that one up.
Mike Perry?
No, the other 3
versus Cowboy?
The other 3 we got right. Like we were better than average on them. So
that's definitely good. We don't want to get trapped, especially by a damn bookie. All right, so we'll go ahead and break down the fights we have this weekend. Actually, dude, for a free Fox card, this thing's loaded.
Yeah,
it really
I think
is.
It's the last Fox card too. It kind of surprised me that they put so many really good guys. This is like the breakup card here. This is the end of it. UFC tonight. Tonight was their last taping. This will be the last UFC on Fox.
And then
card.
now they moved to ESPN, if I'm correct.
They moved to ESPN early January.
Yeah, see, I actually think that this is the reason why they popped all these good fights out there, was to kind of make sure a lot of people were tuned in so they can remind you, like, hey, we're going to be on ESPN now. I think that's what the planning was, because this is... I know sometimes we fluff cards and we say, like, oh, yeah, this is a great card, and we'll talk about 2 fights on the damn thing. But this time, like, we can legitimately get 4 fights deep, and I won't even blink an eye on it. Yeah. So we'll start it off. Right at the top, headliner, lightweight matchup, Kevin Lee, minus 310 dog to Al LaQuinta, who's plus 255. They have fought once in the past. Al LaQuinta won the first one, I believe by a decision. So now Kevin Lee is actually favored in the fight.
Oh, he's the favorite.
Yes, Kevin Lee is the favorite.
Oh, shit.
I think your eyes perked up. You're wanting Al LaQuinta.
No, I was I was gonna pick Lee. My pick.
No
is,
shit.
My
Okay.
pick is Lee.
Yeah.
I thought you said he was the dog.
No, he opens as the betting favorite. I don't know if I misspoke there, but yes, he is favorite.
I think it's gonna be the Lee that fought Iaquinta was mostly a wrestler. His game has grown. Iaquinta is still very tough, and he's really good in all areas. But the guy that fought Iaquinta back then's not even close to the fighter we have now. So, barring any bad weight cuts issues, which he's only really had two issues in the past. He missed weight once, and he got staffed bad once. And he made weight, but he looked horrible. I feel like Lee is gonna take this one.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, which is kind of a bummer because I'm a Raging Al fan, dude.
Do you follow him on Twitter?
Oh, yeah.
Everything, no matter, somebody will be talking shit. They're like, "You're the biggest pussy ever." He'll be like, "Well, you'd get more if you owned your own home. Here's my number." Like he's still going hard in the real estate biz.
You gotta respect it. Respect it. Another lightweight match we have: Edson Barboza, Dan Hooker. Almost identical odds. Hooker is a slight favorite, -115. To Barboza, -105. I do think that these odds are pretty fair because this is damn near a pick 'em on the fight.
Yeah.
Who do you like in this fight? I think this would be a very, very good fight.
I do too. You know, this dude Dan Hooker, the Hangman, he trains with Israel Adesanya. They're out of the exact same camp. I think they have it's not a podcast. They have a YouTube show together. The dude, he's kind of scary. Not only is he...
His name's the Hangman.
It's the perfect name for him. He's a very good fighter. Very obviously, you've trained him with Stylebender and their team. He's a very good stand-up fighter. I'm pretty certain he's got a very solid ground game too. What worries me about him is he's not scared of anyone, so he can tend to get into a touch of a slugfest. And, if you're going against Barboza, the last thing you want to do is get in a slugfest. So, Barboza I think he's coming off 2 losses.
Tough fights, though.
You got to think he's going to be coming out there guns a-blazing. I'm going to stick with my gut. I'm going to say Hangman gets him. I mean, he's coming off KO'd Gilbert Burns, KO'd Jim Miller, subbed Mark Diakises, KO Ross Pearson. He's a tough guy. I'm going to go Hooker. I'm going to stick with my gut on this. I think Hooker touches Barboza, maybe mixes in a little bit of takedowns, and ends up getting a TKO.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an exciting fight. I really do. But the thing that always scares me about this is that, Edson Barboza is such a seasoned vet.
He is.
He is as seasoned as it comes at this weight class. And whenever we see guys come out and just, immediately just drop nukes, try to get into an absolute shootout with a guy that's as savvy as a vet as Barboza, it's scary. I do think that Hooker should win the fight, but it's kind of like whenever we picked against Alistair Overeem. It's always scary to pick against a savvy vet against a guy who just comes out and tries to drop nukes. So, that's a tough fight. I do like your Hooker pick. It's not going to surprise me if either one of these guys win, though. That's the bad thing.
No, yeah, like you said, the odds are pick'ems, right?
Oh yeah, basically a pick 'em.
That's a tough one to bet on. I feel like either way you bet, you can make a very easy argument. That may be one you might want to hold off on, to be honest, because it's so even.
Yeah, I agree. So we actually have a bantamweight fight. I believe this is Sergio Pettis' first bantamweight fight.
I noticed that when I saw Rob Font on there, I thought he's a weight class above Pettis.
But I think this is because they're getting rid of the 125.
Oh.
So I think that's why Sergio Pettis got moved up. He was one of the few guys that they kept from the 125. So Rob Font, -165 favorite, to Sergio Pettis, 145 plus dog. Who do you like in the fight?
Man, that's a tough one.
It's another tough one. Dude, this card's loaded.
Yeah, he's Rob Font. We've talked about him before. Sidiotong guy. with Mark Delagrati over there in Boston. He's Boston strong like Leighton's Red Sox. We picked him against the Sun Tzu in his last fight. It's hard for me to pick Pettis to beat him. Font's going to be the bigger guy. His striking's just as good. I don't see Pettis being able to take him down like a Sun Tzu did. My gut says Font on this one. My gut says Font. I don't think I could pick the dog on this.
Yeah, I do agree. And I think this is one of those ones that we can wait on till the very end and snatch up a good bet because people will see the Pettis name and bet on him and not realize that he's going a weight class up.
I'm glad you said that because I'm looking at it and I'm like, damn, there's no way Rob Font makes 25. There's got to be something's got to be up here. But then if 25 is going out of business, then you got to put him somewhere.
And sometimes we're on here and we say like, hey, we really do like the guy moving up in weight. We think this is going to move things in the positive direction. But like Sergio Pettis, I feel like he's a true 125.
He's a little bitty.
Like he is little bitty. So I absolutely love the Rob Font pick. Unfortunately, I'm a big Pettis. I'm a fan of the whole Pettis family. But unfortunately, I think Rob Font will win. So lightweight, another lightweight fight. I feel like we're jacked to the gourds with lightweight fights in this. Jim Miller opens as a plus 250 underdog to Charles Oliveira, minus 300 favorite. I know that we've talked before. Jim Miller, he's the man. He really is. I don't. There's just something about him. I think it's just because he's been around so long.
I know why.
Why is that?
He comes out to CCR.
That's got to be
he
why.
He always comes out to Credence, baby. You can't. It's hard to be against a guy that comes out to Credence.
No, I
agree.
If
you're jamming the CCRs, you're getting ready to go fist fight a dude.
You're crazy.
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
So who do you have in this fight? Who do you think's going to win?
Oh God.
I think this is a tougher fight than what the odds
Oliveira, his MO for a long time was he kind of gave up, right? I mean, he was there like fighting like hell at the beginning, and then if you survived, he kind of wilted. But then he's kind of come back from that. This is such a tough one. This is another tough. He's a hot and cold. He's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I think I'm going to have to go with Oliveira on this. I think his height is going to be really, 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 really tough for Jim Miller to deal with. Jim Miller, southpaw, he's got some good punches. Oh, man, looking at his record, he lost 4 in a row before his last win against Alex White. I've got to go Oliveira. I'm sorry, Jim Miller, huge CCR fan. Heads up, Jim Miller and his brother, they've been trying to get a hunting show on the Outdoor Channel. Like, they brew their own beer, they hunt, they fish. They're from Southern Illinois, except they're from, like, Massachusetts or something. So, I'm sorry, but I got to go Oliveira.
Yeah,
makes me actually feel bad. Jim Miller's one of the guys that when I pick against, I'm like, damn, I'm an asshole.
No, I agree. He's going to come out with a big statement then. He's going to get Shackelford picked against him, and he's going to pick up the win. But, I mean, look at this card, man. I mean, Bobby Green versus Drakkar Klose. You have Jessica Rose Clark on the card, Zach Cummings. Like, the card is absolutely loaded. So I know sometimes we get on here, we fluff up a card just to see if you guys will watch it, just so you guys will take our bets. But I really think that this card is absolutely jacked to the gourd.
Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you the fight that I'm most excited about is the Barboza and the Hangman.
Yeah, no, that'll be.
I think that one's got me the most jacked.
That'll be like Thiago Santos and Jimmy Mantle Part 2.
just insanity.
Yeah. So little news and notes. Not a lot that's going on that we're not going to talk about over the next up and coming weeks. I mean, obviously we have the return of Bones Jones in a couple weeks. Something that really sticks out: UFC 233. Some real weird stuff's happening with that card. I know Ben Askren's made his feelings. He's publicized them, talked about how he thinks Colby Covington's scared of him. Not only that he thinks it, He knows it. Or not Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman. He knows Kamaru is scared of him, referred to him as Marty, which I kind of like that nickname for him. I hope he rolls with it.
I wonder, Usman was big on the international wrestling scene for a while, so he must have a nickname that those guys that are big in the international scene know that we don't.
Yeah.
So.
But take us through what's going on with 233, and I just cannot imagine that there's going to be a card, 231, and then they have 232, and then they skip right to 234. So take us through that. What's going on? And I mean, Woodley and Colby Covington's never going to happen.
They don't have a main event. Basically, they were trying to get Woodley and Covington to fight. This is the stuff that makes people not like Woodley. There always seems to be something, and I don't know. I think they're saying he's got a hand injury. Last time it was a shoulder. I'm not really sure. They were trying to give him a fight, but he's just a guy that he wants to fight on his terms. Period. And I guess he's earned that.
Yeah, he's earned that.
But as a fan, it's like, well, that kind of stinks, I honest to God think he could beat Covington with no arms.
Yes, I agree.
If both his hands were broken and he went in only being able to throw elbows and wrestle, I think he'll beat Covington's ass.
Yeah, and this is kind of weird because a lot of the fights that he's kind of been, kind of pulled out of and tried to avoid, like I thought, well, there's a route that guy can beat him. There's absolutely no route that I see Colby Covington being able to beat.
Covington's easy to hit. I'll tell you right now, I don't think his wrestling's that good. I think he just runs guys to the fence and just wears people out. He just gets in. I'm not the best wrestler on earth. I'm sure he could take my fat ass down, but I bet you I could go to the IHSA state wrestling event and find 10 kids, probably in one weight class, smaller than him, that could beat him in a wrestling match in this day. So without that main event, I think Cejudo TJ was going to be the main event. They moved them to that very first ESPN card, that ESPN Plus card.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they moved them to have a big event.
So they moved Paige Van Zanten out?
That's not the main event anymore. The Cejudo Dillashaw is now.
Wow, what a get, dude!
Yeah, and you kind of see the reason behind, like, hey, we can put these guys here, plug them in, and then we can get Woodley and him to fight. Well, now Woodley's not there.
And is there a more Disney champion than like Cejudo?
No.
I really don't think
he's like the cheesiest, like good, happy-go-lucky.
Oh yeah,
feel-good story ever.
Yeah, like so. I honest to God think the dude could go work at Disney and like
he probably could. He could be the. I've been to Disney a couple times. I could totally see him down there working at Splash Mountain or at the Dumbo rides, just cheering kids on.
Oh yeah.
As far as the card goes, UFC 233. It's supposed to be in Anaheim at the Honda Center. Still on the card, they had Askren, Lawler. They had here's another one, Dominic Cruz. I just read a tweet before we got on. He's out, shoulder injury. So there goes the Lineker Cruz. You got Joey Benavidez versus Davison Figueiredo. Another one I'm super excited about. I tweeted about him, Kron Gracie, the guy that kind of. He won the match against Gary Tonin, but it was the 2013 ADCCs. That was really the match that Tonin, people were like, holy shit, who's this guy? Because he damn near beat Kron, took him like real deep into the match. He's fighting Bruce Leroy.
Hell
right
yes.
Off the bat. Paul Felder versus James Fix. It just
this card could survive without a belt.
I really think it could, but for whatever reason,
call Cowboy.
They are. Well, I actually have some news about Cowboy. I forgot to mention it. They are dissipating this card into other cards, so there's legitimately going to be a 32, a fight night, no 33, and then go to a 34. So when you buy your UFC box set when you're like 80, when you're just like buying all the UFCs, you're going to be shitting your pants because there's going to be no 32.
Yeah.
This is almost as crazy. I don't know if you remember Chuck Liddell fought Vitor on this card, but there was a UFC 35 and a half. Or it was 37 and a half. 37.5 is what they called it.
That's hilarious.
So there's been some kooky stuff happen before.
That was 200 UFCs ago.
Yeah, that was 200 UFCs 15 years ago that happened. So speaking of Cowboy, guess who they billed him to fight next?
Who's that?
Alexander Hernandez. It's not Aaron Hernandez. It's Alexander Hernandez.
No kidding.
Yes. So I really thought that they were going to do Cowboy Conor. And
that made the most sense.
The way this stuff is, that might still happen if there's some pushback. But right now I saw a thing the other day and said Cowboys booked against Alexander Hernandez, which is, that's a tough fight for Cowboy, a young, athletic, super guy. I'm trying to think.
They did some hype stuff with, like, they showed a belt or what looked like a belt with the USA and Canada.
Nobody knows what that is.
What the hell?
Nobody knows.
It's got to be GSP, right?
I don't know what it is. I think was it a Canada or was it a Russian thing? I think it was Canadian.
I thought it was Canadian. It looked Canadian.
I don't know what it is. I saw that it's like a 17-second video. They've said nothing about it. But when you think about Canadian fighters,
it's Canadian Fighter GSP.
It's got to be GSP, right? I don't know. I'm glad you brought that up. I had kind of forgot about that.
Hendo. H-bombs are coming back, boys.
H-bombs are back. What is it? There was one more. Oh, there's actually a couple things. Did you see a thing about Brock Lesnar? So USADA puts all their testing online, so you can see every time a fighter gets tested. Brock Lesnar apparently got tested like 2 times in November. Well, then, like a couple days later, one of those was off the site. So USADA came out and like, oh, it was an error, it was a glitch, he didn't really get tested. So people are going nuts like, no, yeah, that's some bull. So
yeah, dude, I saw him at a WWE event, dude. He looked like he was completely drained. Like, he looked deflated. Like somebody had just put it like a needle in the balloon, deflated him a little bit, and then sent Brock Lesnar back out on the stage.
Yeah, he's not. If he's still cycling, he's definitely toned down a bit.
He's weaned off.
He's weaned off, yes.
Oh man, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. As far as just like little tidbits. I really just want to know what the USA flag, because it looks like it's a belt.
It does, exactly, and that's what people tweeted, like, this is really ominous, like, and they've still said nothing. They just showed almost like it'd be like the crown or top of the belt, and on one side where like a jewel was American flag, and then on the other side was,
I hope they're not trying to do like intercontinental bullshit, like where like boxing, where they're like, and we have this champion, and they rattle off like 1,400 like acronyms, and then they say, you know, he's a champion of that, and I'm like, I don't want that. I just leave everything alone, and if you have just like one big event, whatever, we'll take it.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I've still not seen anything. I seen the one video, a bunch of people talking about it and like theorizing, but you know, you don't know. The last tidbit of the day is so the Conor Khabib, they were supposed to have their hearings. Conor got his pushback already. Khabib was saying he wasn't showing up for his. He ended up getting it pushed back. So I forget the date that they're pushed back to, but we still aren't any closer to knowing when either one of those guys are going to fight again.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely a bummer. Latency, did you ever find what we were looking for? Guys, just to recap, we were looking for the most significant strikes landed in a UFC fight.
So the stats on MMA fighting like that aren't easy to find as anything else ever.
Imagine that.
So I found a list of strikes. Not sure if it's landed or thrown, but Max Holloway and Brian Ortega at UFC 239, the most significant strikes ever.
231.
231. Sorry, I can't read. 231 by 52.
So that did take the cake.
And the most hitting strikes for an event was also UFC 231.
Did it say what second place was?
For event or fight.
Just
Fight.
Nate Diaz and Donald Cerrone.
Oh my goodness, dude!
I thought that was the one. And what's crazy about that was
There's a reason why this guy comes on here and gives you his picks. That is unbelievable, dude.
That was a 15-minute fight too.
And what did you say? He beat it by 32?
52.
52? That's damn near right what you put it at.
You want to guess the third place?
Let's go with.
Take your time. Don't just shout out an answer because I know you probably have it in that
You're
big
gonna
head of
be
yours.
wrong.
Let's go with Nick Diaz and Diego Sanchez.
No.
Oh.
It's Dippers. I know how to say this name. I've shot him for 34 weeks now. Valentina Shevchenko versus Priscilla
This is the one.
Kochova.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the one.
Dude, Leighton C nailed that name though. Valentina Shevchenko.
Shevchenko.
What an animal.
That was her first fight at 25. Remember, she almost murdered the girl where I think Yamasaki was the ref. All those were ground strikes. So she basically took that girl, blew her ACL in the first 2 seconds, and she basically just was on top of her, beating the dog shit out of her. So that was kind of, third. Who gives a shit about third place? First, I'm happy I remember second.
That was unbelievable. You said the only one I could see that could have topped it would have been this, but I think they were about 30-something strikes too. Wow.
If you haven't seen that fight, you need to watch it.
Is the women's featherweight division still a thing?
Yeah.
Because, Jermaine
Durandamy.
Yeah.
Jermaine D.
Yeah, it's women though.
Yeah, I know. We picked her one time.
Oh, that's the girl you were picking?
Yep.
We picked her not long ago.
Oh, that's a dude. Okay.
It's a girl.
Well, she's the all-time leader in significant strikes for that division with 80.
Really?
With 80.
Wow.
I also looked up Canadian fighters to help you think of who that could possibly be. Don't know when this was posted, but it's from Vanker. Number 1 is GSP. 2 is Roy McDonald. 3 is some guy named Patrick Cote. And then Mark Hammernock, TJ Grant, Sam Stout. That's not the top 6.
You know what I just thought of?
What's that?
And if this is right, it'll be nuts. Guess who's an American? Daniel Cormier.
Daniel Cormier is American.
Guess who's Canadian?
GSP.
Brock Lesnar.
Is he really?
He moved to Canada. You remember his last fight with Mark Hunt? He wore the Canadian colors.
You're shitting me.
I swear to God. Because he used to live in Minnesota.
Minnesota, yeah, he wrestled for Minnesota.
Yeah, he used to live there, had a big ranch. He ended up buying a ton of land up in Canada. And I'm not shitting you. I remember someone asking him about it, and he said, well, me and my family actually moved up to Canada and are living there now. I didn't even think about that until just.
So that would be the biggest hox of all time.
It would be. It'd be honey dicking.
Yes.
It's honey dicking right there.
This would
Speaking
be.
of Daniel Cormier, do you guys see that ESPN ranked him as the 3rd most dominant athlete of 2018?
What?
His dominance rating is 2.273.
I could see it.
Who was number 1 and 2?
Number 1 is Simone Biles, and number 2 is Kenyan, who runs the races really good.
Mo
something?
Eliud Kipchoge.
What are we doing here? What are these rankings? We got a gymnast, a marathon runner.
It's the
and
most
an
dominant
MMA fighter.
athlete of 2018. Patrick Mahomes number 18.
How is the whole Warriors not on there?
Patrick Mahomes is 18?
Yeah,
I don't feel like he's that
Drew
dominant.
Brees is 15. The horse justifies 16. Mookie Betts is 14.
The horse? What the hell?
LeBron
Athletes.
13. We'll go through all these real quick.
You
We'll go through all
tell
these.
me this journalism that's going on in the world today.
Lewis Hamilton, who's a race car driver, is
An athlete.
Yuzuru
He pisses his pants to finish his race. He's not an athlete.
No.
Yuzuru Hanyu, who is a ice skater, is 11.
I could see it.
Novak's 10. Simona Halep's 9.
He's
Luka,
going all the way till he gets to LeBron James.
Logic's 8. No, LeBron's 13. LeBron's already been passed.
Oh.
Brianna Stewart, that women's basketball player, is 7. Chloe Kim, some women snowboarder, is 6. Kayla Lecky's 5. Ariana,
Grande.
some Asian golfer, is 4. Dan Cormier is 3. The Kenyans 2, and Simone Biles is 1.
Who put
Wow.
this out?
ESPN.
They've lost their minds.
They've lost their minds. Yes, I agree.
They've ran out of topics.
How is he the-
That's how boring basketball is right now. That's how boring the NBA is right now. We're doing this.
Evidently, Cormier landed 19 significant strikes to Daniel Lewis's 4 while fitting titles multiple weight classes. The first time it's ever happened.
Wow.
You know what? Good for DC. That's the weirdest list I've ever heard.
Yes. We have a race car driver in our top 10.
We have a horse in number 16.
Not a good year for humans.
Yes. A good year for the human. Wow. You know, I watched a video the other day. Did you guys get a chance to see that video of the guy playing air hockey against that robot?
No, I bet he lost though.
He got his ass kicked.
Dominated?
Yes, the
Oh.
robot killed him.
No, he got a point.
I feel like next year we're going to be doing this list, and it's going to be like air hockey robot number 4, horse number 3.
What, the ping pong players on there? Got a badminton guy.
Holy smokes.
Well, that's the best way to sign off right there.
Yeah, and on that note, for Drake, for Leighton, Mr. Shackelford Dippers, as always, stay saucy.